Hi everyone, this is Jim. Welcome to this Blitz chess postmortem, a postmortem of my Blitz game number 295. I was white here and I kicked off with c4, hoping to get an English opening. But my opponent played the somewhat rare move here, c6. Not that it's a bad move. It just mostly transposes into other openings besides the English. Now, one main way to play against this is to play e4. I didn't play this in the game, but some idea you should probably know. If you play e4, the main move is d5, and what's interesting about this is after e takes and c takes, you play d4, and now you've transposed, and this is actually the Panov-Botvinnik attack against the Caro-Kann, which would have started normally with the moves e4 and c6. So that's a way to play. It looks like, if we back up to here, you could also try a knight move, and maybe you would get to stay in English territory that way. But I played the other pawn move, d4, and now we're in a Slav defense after d5. And knight f3, preventing e5 from black. Knight f6, e3 is the way I usually play it. It is safe still to play knight c3, but then there are various tricky lines where black takes the pawn, so I just play simply with e3, and then black plays g6 there, setting up a fianchettoed bishop, and this is known as the Schlechter Slav. It's also known as the Smyslov variation of the Grunfeld. So you can get this in a Grunfeld move order, where you, in the Grunfeld, you fianchetto and play d5, and then later, if you support it with c6, then that's the Smyslov variation of the Grunfeld. Just thought that was interesting. Comes from two different and somewhat, I mean, it's sort of a hybrid between the two openings, the fianchetto from the Grunfeld and this line of pawns over here from the Slav. Okay, but we continue along normal lines here. Knight c3, bishop g7, these are all just very logical moves, developing my pieces. It looks like bishop e2 is the main move here. I was really debating between bishop e2 and bishop d3, because on d3 the bishop doesn't have much of a future, but it does have one idea, which is to support this e5 push at some point. So I was already thinking about the e5 push, e4 rather, trying to break in the center, bishop g4. I kick the bishop, which is normal, and the exchange is typical too, because there's no good retreat for the bishop. If it drops back, then this pawn move traps the bishop. So you've either wasted a move with the bishop, or you decide to exchange it for the knight. And now knight bd7 is an unusual move here. The most normal move is e6. Just setting up this semi-Slav pawn triangle. Black has done what he wanted to do in getting rid of the light squared bishop, and now he can completely set up a solid formation with all his pawns on light squares, and not really have a thing to worry about, because his only bishop is a dark squared bishop, so he won't have any bad bishop, and the knights are very good at hopping around that structure. So that's a very solid way to play, and the usual idea. My opponent instead played knight bd7, which was a mistake. And I was not alert here. If I had been paying attention, I would have noticed that this pawn is hanging. I've got a queen on it, I've got a knight on it, and I've got a pawn on it, and he's just blocked one of his defenders, so it's only defended by a single piece. So I can just win a pawn here, and I should. And instead of playing that move, instead of playing a good move or even an average move, I play a bad move. But I've been thinking about e4, and that was my plan all along. It's just this is the wrong time to play it, and so it's very interesting. So it's sort of dual mistakes. My opponent's mistake not defending his d-pawn, my mistake not taking it, and compounded by playing e5, returning the advantage to black. By playing e4, I returned the advantage to black. So my opponent could have played e5 here. He didn't play this. And now my situation is a bit awkward, because after I take, he can take back with the knight, forking my queen and my bishop. He takes off the bishop here. And then d takes e4. Yeah, he can just open things up here. It's not good for me. Well, I don't have time to retake. I guess that's the point. My queen is under attack, so I need to do something about that. and if I trade queens, then this pawn is defended. So I'm just losing a pawn after the move e5. If my opponent had spotted it, but he didn't, and instead he played d takes e4. And we get a game that's about even, but still slightly better for black. So my whole idea with e4, it's a good idea. In some cases, it's just mistimed. I played it at a bad moment in this game, and I'm just a little worse here. So even now, even though I'm not down a whole pawn, I'm actually going to be down a pawn shortly. He plays e5, and now I should just go into an equal game when knight takes f6, and this line leads to nothing, basically. Queen takes, bishop takes, and then d5 here. And I don't lose a pawn, at least, but it's a very even position, and nobody's really got much of an edge in that game. So I decided to play in a different way. I played with d5, which is a pawn sack, but I get some open lines, so I wasn't too worried about losing the pawn here. He takes, and I take back, and then he grabs my knight. Cancel that. Oh, he grabs the pawn. And so this is interesting. Even though I'm a pawn down, the chess engine now likes white's position, because we've gone to a situation where it's true that black has the only pawn in the center, but this pawn blocks his bishop. And my pieces have some open lines here, and they're reasonably well placed. So just overall an okay position for white. So, but black has the material edge, so I have to. Let's keep going. Knight takes d5 was played, so I have to be a little bit careful. But I developed my bishop to a better square. I thought it might be awkwardly placed on d3 there, and wanted to get away from this idea of the fork of the queen and the there's this problem here in this position where he can push f5 and then d4, and that would fork the queen and the bishop, so I wanted to get away from that. The engine says another way to stop it is rook d1. Okay, but bishop c4, reasonable way to play. Okay, so we went knight 5 to f6, so just retreated. And well, I support my bishop on c4, and now he can take. Okay, he does. So he's getting back in the game here somewhat. He plays knight c5. He's getting tempos on my queen. So that b3 move there was not the most accurate move. I want to play in the most active way. Bishop g5 is the move here, the way to keep an edge. Okay, so after b3, knight e4, we're back in the situation where black has a slight edge. So it means he's got the pawn, and I still have compensation because he's not a full pawn up here in the evaluation. So yeah, one of my advantages is I have the bishop pair, which is actually worth about half a pawn. So that's about where we stand, pretty even, really. I was moving my knight to get it away from various attacks along this diagonal. I have to worry about this pawn moving with tempo. So I placed my bishop here, getting the rook out of the way and putting the bishop on the diagonal. If I can exchange off this bishop, it looks like I can't really stop this pawn from coming forward, but I can exchange off his dark squared bishop, and that will create weaknesses on the king's side, so that will be good. He doubles on the d file. That was maybe a bit of a mistake. What's it say? It says e4 right away is probably the best way to play it. Bishop takes, king takes, and then rook to d1. That's me playing rook to d1 and him playing queen to e5. Okay, so that's a way to play. He develops his rook instead, and I put my rook on the c file, threatening his knight because I'm already attacking it with the queen. It's only defended once, so there's already in this position a discovered attack on the knight. My opponent plays the move queen to b6, and right here I could take advantage of the discovery with bishop a3. Okay, I didn't spot this idea, but if bishop a3, knight takes. Oh, that's a6. That's why I didn't spot that. That's not a good move. Bishop a3. Putting more pressure on the knight this way. So it's already under attack from the queen, and now this establishes a pin. Okay, so that's the way to play. Here, let's go back to the game. I lost it somehow. Okay, here we are in this position. Rook c1, he went queen b6. Yeah, okay, so bishop a3 would win. I didn't spot that right away. I was still thinking about this potential of a discovered attack on the knight, which is still there. There's still 2 attackers and just 1 defender. So I play the move a4, which is the idea of moving this bishop to a square where it attacks the rook, and that would be a double attack. I'd be attacking the rook and the knight simultaneously. So that's my tactical idea introduced by this move a4. It's funny, you know, I'm just thinking, this is a common mistake actually, I'm thinking about the pieces that I have actively placed instead of thinking about the piece that's not really contributing at this point in time, and so that bishop a3 move would have just been much quicker. But it turns out he overlooks the tactic at this point, and so after rook e8 I am just winning with this. Now the best way to defend here is to play a6 or rook e to d8. Rook e to d8 is what he played, so maybe it's just no good defense. He's just losing a whole piece at this point. But there is one tactical trick I wanted to show. So it's dangerous. Let's see if this is true. It's dangerous to take with the queen here. Yeah, because he has this trick, rook d1 check. And let's see, my king can run away. But if my king tries to run away, he can still take my queen, because the other rook is hanging. So these 2 rooks together, which look so strong on the back rank, are actually a bit of a weakness in this particular case because of the tactic. So rook d1 is the tactic, and if I just take the rook, then you can take here with check first, and then grab the queen. So it wins the queen. Now I want a rook and a piece for a queen, but black is clearly better. So anyway, this trick you always have to be careful for. If you're putting your queen on a square where it's under attack by another queen, so there's this opportunity for a queen trade, and you have this check on the back rank that interrupts the defense of your your queen, right? You're putting your queen on a square here where it's defended by a rook, and this rook can be yanked away from the queen by this rook d1 check. Very common tactic known as the hook and ladder. The idea is you're using a hook to yank out the ladder from underneath the queen, and the queen goes tumbling down. But there are always these subtle variations in the hook and ladder. You know, can the king run to safety? Can you just trade here? And so this is kind of a neat variation where if the king runs away, you can grab the queen and then win a rook in the corner. Or if the rook runs away, then you can trade off rooks and then grab the queen. So either way, black could be winning. So I was aware of that tactic and alert to it, and I took with the rook. And so I'm able to maintain my advantage, just being a piece up. So we play on a few more moves, but there's not a lot going on here. There's nothing much that black can do, and this will force some more trades. Rook takes e8 is forced, and with this amount of force left on the board, I don't have to worry so much about being mated. He just was setting up for one last idea, which was to mate me on the back rank with 2 rooks and the queen covering the escape square. But after this rook is gone, it's not happening. So my opponent resigned at this point. Interesting tactical finish to the game, I thought. Hope you guys enjoyed that, and leave any comments you have in the section below. Bye.